it's possible that Amy Klobuchar's chances for VP just went up in smoke along with buildings in Minnesota. Now, why do I say that? It's because new information has come out about Klobuchar's record as a prosecutor in Minnesota, and of course, those records are not good. Now, HuffPost explains that Klobuchar had received her start in politics right in Hennepin County, where this is happening, where a lot of the protests and riots are happening right now. Now, she served as a top prosecutor for 8 years, beginning in 1999. And so you remember Chauvin has been working there. Derek Chauvin had just recently been arrested today for his role in the death of George Floyd. He's had a 19-year career. And so around the time where Klobuchar was serving as DA, or I'm sorry, not as DA, but as a prosecutor in Minnesota, Chauvin had been a police officer and had actually been the subject of investigations into use of force and, several homicides on the job. Probably not the word for it, but then again, a couple people have died. Suspects have died. And he was investigated several times for them. So now, anyway, while there, they explained, she employed a tough-on-crime approach, pushing, among other things, more convictions of minor offenses like graffiti and school truancy. So now HuffPost points out that that's not exactly outside of the normal thing that prosecutors did back in the 90s. You had Joe Biden with the 1994 crime bill. You had a lot of politicians that were much more, quote unquote, tough on crime. And so she was no exception. Nowadays, oh boy, not good, right? Because we are overly punitive, overly tough, and we're not interested in rehabilitation, just filling prison seats, prison beds, prison cells. And so now, according to the Washington Post, as county attorney in Hennepin, Klobuchar had a tense relationship with the black community for her refusal to bring charges against police officers in certain cases, including Derek Chauvin. And according to the Washington Post, Klobuchar chose not to bring charges against officers in more than 24 cases where people were killed in police encounters. Not only that, but her office used some sketchy evidence to convict Myron Burrell. Now, Myron Burrell was a 16-year-old that was allegedly involved in the shooting of an 11-year-old girl, and he is currently serving a life sentence. Burrell's co-defendants said that he did not participate in the shooting. And since then, the Associated Press has gone back to look at that case to investigate and now has more questions about the evidence presented. The Burrell case, of course, is, it looms large for activists wary of Biden picking her as a running mate, according to the article. Now, you guys know I've reported on this before. She's on the VP shortlist. So she's along with, I believe, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Gretchen Whitmer, as well as Val Demings. I think Val Demings still on the short list. Not entirely sure. And so she's there. And I've said before, it's very likely that he's going to pick her. Now, however, well, I mean, now would be a really, yes, it was a really bad pick before, but it might be even worse now. And so, disaster, right? And it was a disaster before, like I said, because Biden, remember, he got the conservative black vote for people who are over 45, right, in South Carolina. Really, that vote saved his entire campaign. Now, that doesn't mean that black people love Joe Biden, right? Not at all. People under 45, especially black voters under 45, they wanted different candidates than Joe Biden, for sure. And no, one of those candidates was not Amy Klobuchar, right? No, a lot of people wanted Bernie Sanders. A lot of people wanted, Elizabeth Warren, and also you had people that wanted Kamala Harris. Younger people, especially younger African Americans. They were not really hugely in favor of Joe Biden. But again, you had South Carolina, black voters in South Carolina who are more conservative and older going with the more conservative option in Joe Biden. And of course, because he was with Obama. And so they were not feeling the Klobuchar people under 45, right? And neither was anybody, of course, in Minnesota's black community who, very, very critical of her. In fact, Kenza Haj Musa, spokeswoman for progressive group Take Action Minnesota, said that Klobuchar's actions as prosecutor, quote, caused trauma that is long-lasting. With everything that's happened in Minneapolis and across the country, she said, Klobuchar would put Biden at even more of a disadvantage politically. This does not work in Amy's favor because she'd had such a strained relationship with that community for years, added another prominent Democrat. Isabella Escalona, spokesperson for a group who fought against increases in Minneapolis' police budget, also adds, quote, she's part of the problem, and we must find community solutions to safety beyond police. So you have, obviously, people in Minnesota, part of those minority communities that are saying, don't do it. She's terrible. Her record is awful. For God's sakes, Joe, if you want the black vote, or at least the one under 45, please pick somebody who is not Amy Klobuchar. In fact, here you have a strategist who asked for anonymity to speak freely, said that Biden, quote, uses all the language of Black Lives Matter and liberal racial justice advocates, but you have to look at what a person does. Picking Klobuchar, given the record she has, especially in this moment, seems like nothing less than an admission that he doesn't seriously care about these issues. Well, I could have told you that already. But again, I am biased against Joe Biden, to be fair, because I've looked at his record, and his record is also pretty terrible. Again, 1994 crime bill, being in favor of more tough on crime laws, being in favor, of course, palling around with segregationists. He's got a terrible record of, serving the black community. He's really lucky that Obama picked him. He really was. That really helped him. But again, he wasn't picked for his relationship with the black community. No, he was chosen in order to make white people feel comfortable. And so he doesn't really need someone else like Amy Klobuchar to, appeal to other white people. And that's what that is. And that's why, of course, there are a lot of African-American, pundits and people like that are saying, you got to pick, and voters as well, you got to pick somebody who's not Amy Klobuchar. You got to pick somebody who is going to appeal to us. And one of those choices they say is a black VP pick, whether it be Kamala Harris or anyone else. Definitely they wouldn't choose Nina Turner though, which kind of sucks because I would totally love that choice. That would be great. All right. So anyway, as I've said before, disastrous pick if he picks Klobuchar, because again, she's white, she's milquetoast, not progressive at all. But as numerous people pointed out, she's got a terrible record on African Americans and justice, criminal justice, all that stuff. If he picks her, that's a bad sign. Not only does Biden's campaign have no interest in progressives, which we knew already, but also they're going to once again, if they make this pick, take the black vote for granted. And that's going to be a disaster on all sides. This really is Biden's election to lose. I mean, Donald Trump's already a massive, unmitigated disaster. Joe Biden should be able to easily slide and sail into the White House under this, but he seems to be making it really, really difficult to do so. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality. which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.